Hello everyone, and welcome to this first newsletter of Term 2 on the day that we've celebrated Edmund Rice Day. On Easter Monday, most of us heard the news of the death of Pope Francis, and the conclave has commenced to elect his successor. Since then, endless eulogising and analysis of his life and contribution as Pope has circulated. I'd like to think that the way St Joseph's operates is in a direct alignment with the teaching and example of Pope Francis. In this, I include our commitment to inclusion and welcome of all, particularly the most marginalised, our efforts toward environmental sustainability, and our commitment to social justice. In his last days, Francis is reported to have said, "I never wanted to be Pope, but I have tried to be the Pope God wanted me to be." I think Francis was the Pope that we needed him to be. The following is the text of a letter which was circulated to all EREA schools across Australia by Dr. Michael Slattery, who's the chair of the EREA Council. Edmund Rice Education Australia mourns the passing of His Holiness Pope Francis on Easter Monday. In this Easter season, in solidarity with the Universal Church, we recognise the risen Christ who lived through him and who we constantly strive to be. Francis shone a light on the wisdom and capacity we all possess to lead and respond as the people of God, a church committed to building a better world. In solidarity with the poor, we recognise the radical leadership of Francis in responding to the realities of people's lives. He challenged each of us to imagine and create communities where the causes of poverty, oppression, exclusion and injustice are understood and addressed. Pope Francis recognised that the only response was mercy and hope, working in the messiness of the world, alleviating suffering and striving for justice and peace. In solidarity with our planet, we celebrate the inspiration and architect of Laudato Si. Pope Francis spoke a language of inclusion, liberation, spirituality, justice and solidarity, underpinned by a theological wisdom that expanded this love and care beyond humanity to all of creation. With wisdom, simplicity and humility, this work of transformation and change has generated renewal, hope and optimism for our common home. In solidarity with the homeless, the prisoner, the refugee, the asylum seeker, the stateless and the victim of conflict, we're emboldened by his courageous messages, his simple gestures and daily actions which challenged individuals, communities, governments, authoritarian leaders and international bodies to care for those most in need and commit to a more loving and compassionate world. At a time when the foundations of truth are under threat, Francis, through his life and work, continually answered the question that Pontius Pilate directed to a tortured Jesus. Truth, what is that? Francis humbly showed us the way, the truth, and the lives expected of us as he made the vulnerable a priority and led transformation within and beyond the Catholic community. May we continue to have the courage to enact the words of Francis, included in the EREA Charter for Catholic Schools from 2004. We are not in a change of era, but in an era of change. The world needs our creative and prophetic capacities. During the 3-week break, there's been an immense amount of building, remedial and transition work completed around the college, and you can probably see some of it behind me. The new Arts and Technology building is on schedule for completion in June, and the builders have commenced work on B block and upstairs and in the east end of the admin block. In summary, we've had to make some changes. The staff room is now the library. The staff room is in the cricket pavilion. The Senior Independent Study Centre is in J Block, adjacent Zampatti Oval. Reception remains in place if you need to visit it, but most staff from the admin block have been relocated around the school. Access between the quadrangle and Zampatti Oval is via the front of A block, adjacent to the bus centre, which is really inconvenient. Most of these arrangements will remain in place until the start of the 2026 school year. However, in the next 5 weeks, we will have access to the new building. Until that time, it will be particularly challenging with reduced yard space, fewer undercover areas, and some specialist subjects being taught in non-specialist areas. I keep reminding myself of the adage that you can't make omelettes without breaking eggs. The result, when these buildings and this entire project is finished, will be worth the inconvenience. Last year, we commenced a review of our communication strategy to try to align all the ways we communicate with different groups using a variety of methods. Recently, you should have received a survey seeking your views on the way you prefer to receive communication from the school. In this survey, we're also asking for your feedback to assist us review our current mobile phone policy. Could I please encourage you to complete this survey if you haven't done so already? Congratulations to everyone involved in the Year 12 renewals, which were held last week. These are a highlight of the boys' final year at the college. Best wishes to our Year 9 boys as they head off on camp next week. Organising transport, accommodation, activities, risk assessments and alternate options for 300 boys is a massive task, and I'd like to note how grateful we are to Nathaniel Smith for his work on this area. Once again, I hope that Edmund Rice Day for all the students who were here and took part in it was a terrific day, and may I finish by simply wishing everybody Happy Edmund Rice Day.